have a very, very special guest joining with me today. Senior writer for the Washington Commanders, entering his 7th season, Mr. Zack Selby. How you doing, Zack? I appreciate you for joining me today.
Shout out to Juan Gotti Talking Sports. You know what it is.
Shout out Juan Gotti Talking Sports.
The way that we live is not for everybody.
Nah, that ain't it, y'all.
How do you think the rest of Jaden Daniels' career is going to go? If we're, 6, 7 games into Jaden Daniels' career, and he's already milking injuries? Like,
stop saying my name, you dick riding bastard. I love the way she move it, shake it on me. When she cry for him, and shawty is the winner. You can tell that shawty love again now, she's confident.
YouTube, what's going on? It's Juan Gotti here. We have the Washington Commanders video, and in today's video, I have a very, very special guest joining with me today. Senior writer for the Washington Commanders, entering his 7th season, Mr. Zack Selby. How you doing, Zack? I appreciate you for joining me today.
Hey, doing right. You're not just getting me. You're also getting my dog over here in the background. You're getting my cat up here. Like we got like the whole crew out here for this podcast. I really appreciate it. It's been great for you to invite me. I'm ready to talk some ball because this Sweet 2 matchup looking pretty good.
Yeah, without a doubt, Nate. We got a crowd, so I appreciate them for joining as well. But I'm going to, before we start, give you your flowers. We have to do this as fans because without you, I don't know what we would do because we're fanatics for this team. We love this team through and through. So when it comes to the training camp update, practice updates, thank you, my good sir, for doing this for the past, almost a decade now.
That seems crazy to say when you say it's almost a decade, but yeah, no, it's been a wild ride because I'm one of the few people who can say they were a former Washington Redskin, Washington football team member, and a Washington Commander. It's been interesting for sure, but the last couple years have been pretty solid, I would say, relatively speaking. And it looks like we got a whole lot more good times coming the way. So hopefully here's 7 more years because it's been a dream job covering this team. It really has.
No, without a doubt. We're going to get straight into it. As you mentioned, Washington, quick turnaround after the great victory week 1 versus the Giants. Really had no time to celebrate as the fellas are back on the field tomorrow night against a very, very good Green Bay Packers team. Zack, I want to talk to you first and foremost about our injury report because it's not too serious, but anytime you see Jaden Daniels pop up or you see a Tressway pop up on the injury list, it can cause for some concern from the fan base. So can you kind of put all of our concerns to bed from what you know?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, we have the final injury report out now, and Jaden's going to play, which is a good thing, and it's never a bad thing at all. Tress is questionable, but it looks like he's going to be okay. I mean, I know they signed Mitch Wishnowsky. Yeah, that's the guy's name on the practice squad. The Boomin' Onion is his nickname, which I think is very cool. But you hope he doesn't have to play, as cool as his nickname is. It seems like Tress is trending in the right direction. The best statistical punter in franchise history. Been a joy to cover him. And, Dietrich Wise, we don't really know that much about his injury. I mean, he was a limited participant on Wednesday. See, this is why I don't like short weeks because everything always gets mixed up because today is technically Friday and Friday is today. So it looks like he's questionable, but I don't think Dan looks too concerned about the thing. And that's the thing you have to remember about these short week injury reports is that they're based on walk-ups or walkthroughs. They're not – right. It's you're basing things on maybe estimations or things like that. So I wouldn't worry too much about it, especially with 5 being out in the field and with Tress trending up in the right direction. Everybody else is good to go, so that's good. And this team does a really good job of taking care of their injured players. So I understand why fans react the way they do whenever they see the quarterback. But just remember, things come in context. Things required you react accordingly. Remember that it's a short week. Remember that it's recovery day, all that other stuff that was on Monday. So just hold off. We're gonna be fine. We're gonna be out there on Thursday.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I think a lot of fans, we walked away from our game feeling comfortable when it comes to our health because on the flip side, the Green Bay Packers actually have some significant names that are going to be out on Thursday night, i.e., a guy by the name of Bo Milton, cornerback, and also a defensive lineman, Brenton Cox Jr., and a couple of other guys, Zane Anderson. That offensive line kind of got a little bit banged up. So two guys out for them, and a couple guys are questionable in their front. So if you ask me, we kind of have, a significant advantage in that department, which is definitely a blessing given the fact that it is a short week. But getting into a little bit of this game, Zach, what are some of your takeaways from this matchup? As a lot of people have the Green Bay Packers winning. I don't know if you pay too much attention to the mainstream shows and whatnot, but Washington is severe underdogs, and I'm not just being a fan when I say this, but I am definitely surprised at how the national media is looking at this game.
Yeah, it's an interesting matchup, I would say, because I think the Packers are one of those teams going into the season. A lot of people predicted that they were going to make the Super Bowl, they were going to challenge the Eagles, and it's just week 2, so you don't want to make any kind of like long-standing proclamations. But this is definitely a test. This is definitely a big step up in competition. This is no disrespect to the Giants at all. Their division opponent. They're always competitive against Washington. But I mean, the Packers they have a better offensive line. They have, I think, their coach is really a really good play caller. They've got Micah Parsons now. They've got a really solid roster. They got Matthew Golden. They got Romeo Dobbs now. I mean, they've got some good players out there, and I think it definitely is going to be a game that a lot of people are going to be watching because I saw on ESPN Dominic Foxworth said that this will be whoever comes out of this will be have a head up on challenging the Eagles. I'm not going to go that far and say that, but I do think this is a moment to say, okay, you put in a lot of effort and time and investments in shoring up a couple of things for if you're Washington and general manager Adam Peters. You wanted to shore up the run defense, you wanted to shore up your secondary, and you want to shore up your offensive line. All three are going to be tested severely in this game. So you've got Michael Parsons going against this new look Washington offensive line. Laramie Tunsil has played well against him. I think he's allowed 0 pressures in the last 2 games that he's seen Micah. But Josh Connolly is a rookie. It's a tough matchup for anybody, let alone a rookie. Then you've got on the secondary, they got, like I said, Matthew Golden, Romeo Dobbs. So you want to see if they can get some turnovers in that area, see if they have a little bit stickier coverage. And then on the defensive line, like this is going to be a run dominant team because people forget, like last year, this Green Bay offense was just about as good at running the ball as Washington was. So they're going to try to run down your face with Josh Jacobs, and they're saying, "Hey, stop us!" But that's why you got guys like Jacob Martin, DJ Wise, you have Eddie Goldman, guys who you paid to stop up the run and get these running lanes clogged up, so guys like Bobby Wagner, Frankie Louvu can make these tackles. So it's going to be a big test for them for sure. And I do still like the way that Washington looks in this. I think they've got a pretty good shot because God knows after last year, you should never have ever count this team out, especially when they have the roster. But I do think it's more of a toss-up than I think people would expect.
Yeah, without a doubt. And that's why I personally feel, I wouldn't say disrespected as a fan, but like I just kind of feel like, you're still not sold after this team went to the NFC Championship last year, and this roster on paper, and we showed it in week 1, is significantly better as we upgraded our holes, as you mentioned, Zach, especially on that defensive line. Stopping Josh Jacobs is going to be a heavy task. Had this been last year, I probably would be a little bit concerned, but after the dominant showing of Javon Kinlaw, Deron Payne, and Dietrich Wise, as you alluded to, like I'm very, very confident in this defense's ability to not only shut down the run, but if Jordan Love, which we know he loves the under center play action, if he has to drop back and pass, I feel confident in the secondary to get it done, stopping him. And I don't know if that's something I would have said last year, given the fact of the names we had on that back end.
Yeah, no, you got guys like Trey Amos who did a very good job in that couple of matchups they had against Malik Neighbors. You have Marshawn Lattimore, who looks a lot healthier than he did last year. You have guys like Noah Igbenogany playing now more of a support role. You've got Mikey Sanders still playing in the role that he was drafted to play in. And those guys, like I said this, I think it was Sunday night, it seemed like Malik Neighbors had the quietest 71 yards that I've seen in a long time because he was targeted 12 times. Like they tried to force feed him the ball like they normally did last year. And well, he did make some catches. It just didn't seem like it was as impactful as you would like it to be. And I think, you mentioned the secondary, the pass rush also has to be a big part in this as well, because that was one of my biggest questions. It's like, okay, you have guys that are probably not like the household names, but are they going to be able to work as one and rush the passer more effectively than they did last year? And it seemed like they did, because they were all sticking to their assignments. They're all doing their stunts and their twists the exact same way they need to. And you could just see the pocket just kind of do this on Russell Wilson. You could see the pocket just sort of like constrict around him, and he's going to be able to get out of that sometimes because he's Russell Wilson. He still has some good legs to him, and I'm curious to see how Jordan Love's going to be able to handle it. But I think this, by aggregation, this group is going to be a little bit more effective than it was last year, because you have guys who are unselfish, who are going to do their jobs, who are going to stay in their rushing lanes, not let anybody get outside, and just wreak havoc on a team. And I think that combination is going to do wonders, because it really was a night and day difference between what we saw in week 1 and what we saw last year with some of the struggles they had. So, but again, the Packers are a bigger test, and we'll see how they shape up. But I feel a lot more confident in that group now than I did maybe 10 days ago.
No, without a doubt. And I'll add something else to that, to your point, Zach. They're just more talented up front. Like last season, they made some additions this offseason that they just didn't have, quite frankly, last year. That's allowing them to have some success, and that's allowing to give fans like myself confidence that they're able to go out there and play with the upper echelons of teams offensively, stopping their offense, that is. Now, I wanted to ask this question to you, because I think we're on the same page as everybody else that's in the Washington community. We're no longer a surprise. It's not, oh, this team is catching you off guard. The expectation has changed around here. We go into games like this. Had this been last year, this is a big measuring stick game to see where we are. But now we go into these games expecting to come out on top. So, Zach, I asked you, for you personally, perspective-wise, is this a measuring stick game for Washington, or is this a statement game for Washington if they were to go out there and make a victory and kind of just step their foot in and say, yeah, we're that team in the NFC?
Yeah, I think, it's tough because it's week 2, and you're not really sure exactly what any team in the NFL is going to be in week 2, especially on a Thursday night week 2. Just to mention that, I think it's, I wouldn't say it's a measuring stick, because I think by this time in the league, I've sort of realized that every week is a measuring stick in some ways, because are you going to say like maybe like last year, like the Saints, like, was that not a measuring stick? Because even though they're not the best team in the league, they still are a team. Like, if you don't handle your business, there's going to be some questions there, right? Same thing on the other end, like the Lions. Like, yes, that was a measuring stick, because you're going up against it's just a different situation. Like, they're one of the top teams in the league. Like, they're number one, they have the number 1 seed. Like, they're going there with a lot of expectations. So like every game is a measuring stick in certain ways. Statement I like a little bit more, but I do think it's a statement in to say that, like, there's no regression, right? Like, we're still that team. Because a lot of people ask me, like, what is a good, like, modicum of success for this team in year 2 of Dan Quinn? And I think going 12-5 again, as cool as that is, like, no one goes into the league like expecting that necessarily. Right. I think my checklist would be have show that the concept works. Right, you had the culture last year, and it got you to 12-5. That's great. There's been a lot of teams in the history of the NFL that have had double-digit winning seasons, and then the next season they fall off immediately and they're back to where they were. I think this year there's a statement to say what we have is working, and it's going to keep working going forward, because we know it's going to work. And I think going up against these kind of teams, these Packers teams, that's how you show that, hey, like, win or lose, we're going to be competitive. We're still going to be hard-nosed to the football. We're still going to try to create turnovers. We're still going to run down your face. We're still going to try to win as hard as we can, no matter what, to the last whistle. That's the culture that DQ has. And for win or lose, if they can show that, that shows me, okay, they're still the same team in some ways, in the most critical ways, that they were last year. So for me, it's not a statement to say, oh, we're here, we have arrived. It's more like, yes, we're still competitive. We're still going to be a problem for the rest of the league. And we're still the team that we said we were going to be last year, where the culture still works. So in ways, that is the statement I want to see out of the team.
Without a doubt. That's a great point, because again, for me personally, I'll just be honest with you, Zach. If we lose this game, is it over? No, without a doubt, it's not. It's only week 2, and that's my mindset in it. But I am expecting this team to go out there and be victorious tomorrow because of where we are in our process. We're no longer, like you mentioned, we have arrived, whether you want to believe it or not, as the outside media or whatever. But us here in this bubble, we see it. We know it. You cover this team every single day in Ashburn. Like, you know what this team is. God forbid, you've covered worse teams, so you would definitely know if there was somebody. But we have arrived, so that's why I say the standard has changed here. So it would be disappointing if we lose tomorrow for a fan standpoint and here, because we expect better. Like they were pissed off after week 1's game. Like, they won, but they were like, man, we were sloppy. We weren't our best. We weren't our sharpest. We know we can be better. So the standard has changed. But to your point, if they were to come up short week 2, it's by any means still a long season. You may lock horns with this team again in the postseason if you make it. So it's not over one bit if the game does not go in our favor tomorrow. But we're both quite expecting it to be a Washington victory. But to kind of close things out as we're coming down the final 5 minutes here, Zach, if you had to just say, I'd say one offensive key to victory and one defensive key to victory for the Washington Commanders, what would it be?
I think in terms of offensive, I think it's going to be let Jaden do his thing, right? I think that's going to be a pretty key thing. I think Jaden has shown over the last couple of years that if like you let him kind of just drop back and be that guy, he's going to deliver you to the promised land one way or the other. I think too, on defense, you got to create some turnovers. That's the big thing. This is something that this team has emphasized like throughout like the DQ tenure, and it's going to keep coming up. And they did a little bit of that last year. They got better, but they didn't really start off that way for sure. But I think as they kind of if they're going to win this game, they're going to have to create some more opportunities for the offense. That's huge, and I think if they can do that, they have to give themselves a better chance. And I mean, DQ even said something about like last week. I think teams in the positive and the turnover margin were like 8 or 9 and 1 or something like that. So that just shows you the importance of it. And I think if they can do that, again, they're going to give themselves a really good chance to win.
Yeah, without a doubt. So that being said, thank you, my guy, Zack Selby. Been covering this team, doing the best coverage of the Washington Commanders for years. And again, from a fan, we thank you so much, because without you, my guy, I don't know what we would do. We would go crazy if we didn't have the constant updates that you provide. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Never gave up one day. Ballin' like I'm Deshaun, throw the bomb, G. That's IG, my jersey never seen a lawn.